In today's video, we're talking about underrated albums from the year 1994. So I have 5 albums for you, and I divided this into chapters, so feel free to jump around however you like. So the first album I want to talk about is Alice Cooper with The Last Temptation. This one came out right after 2 of his biggest albums. 2 albums with a glam metal style, Thrash and Hey Stupid. And this one is very different. It's, I guess, classic rock. It's an album that gets overlooked. So we got lots of good stuff here. The opening track, Sideshow, just straight ahead rock song with some theatrical elements he adds in some horns and instruments. My favorite song is Lost in America, because you got these lyrics and they're describing life in America, and they're just like so true, because he's saying, I can't get a job because I don't have a car. I can't buy a car because I don't have a job. And he just goes on and talks about, the situation and how it is in America. So another one is good. It's called Nothing's Free. Just a classic sound. That one brings back memories from like the albums of the 70s. Another one of my favorites, Unholy War. It's a little heavier. It's a little darker. But it's catchy and melodic. This one has some really good guitar riffs in it. And just lots of rock and metal guitar riffs. And there's 2 ballads, Lullaby and It's Me. So Lullaby is more of like classic Alice Cooper. And It's Me is more of that like glam metal Alice Cooper. So you do get a lot going on in this album. It's just very solid. Doesn't get talked about a lot. And I think also a reason because it kind of like gets kind of forgotten, because it's sandwiched between like these 2 glam albums, and then after this he did 2 industrial albums. So it does get overlooked. Next I have Smashing Pumpkins with Pisces, Iscariot. This is a compilation of B-sides. It came out in 1994. It's B-sides and outtakes, but these are songs from like the Siamese Dream sessions. So it has that early like Smashing Pumpkins sound. This is the sound that like everybody remembers, from the 90s. We got 2 cover songs, Landslide, that's originally by Fleetwood Mac, and that's like played like in a soft acoustic manner, sung by Billy Corgan. Then another song called Girl Named Sandoz, that's originally by The Animals. Some of my favorite songs. Hello Kitty Cat. That's a very heavy song. It has a fast beat, lots of noisy guitar riffs. The song sounds similar to like the heavier tracks from an album like Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. Another one of my favorites is called Starla. It's more laid back. It has a soft like dream pop quality. And this is the band was always known for that like signature like clean guitar tone. Like when you hear that guitar tone, you know it's them. And Billy Corgan uses like a softer tone in the song, and it is very similar to Siamese Dream. And another one of my favorites is called Plume. This has very grungy guitars with Billy singing in a softer voice. This has a sound that would fit on the Siamese Dream album. So if I like ranked this like with the other studio albums, it would be a top 5 album for me. So this one is like really good. Next is Widowmaker with Stand By for Pain. So Widowmaker is a band formed by Dee Snider in 1991. So after he left Twisted Sister, he started another band called Desperado, but that didn't last. So we formed this band, Widowmaker. So in this band, we got Mark Russell on bass, who was in Desperado. We have Joey Franco, who was in Twisted Sister, and he played drums on the Love Is for Sucker album. And guitarist Al Pitrelli, he played with Alice Cooper while they were touring for the Thrash album. So they only recorded 2 albums. And this band played, I guess, 90s metal, I'll call it. They were probably heavier than Twisted Sister, but somewhere between like glam and like traditional heavy metal. Songs got lots of heavy, distorted guitar riffs, powerful vocals by Dee Snider. So lots of good songs here. So one of my favorites is called Long Gone. This one starts with a bass intro, some palm muted guitar riffs. Has kind of a slight grunge feel, but I wouldn't call this a grunge album. There's just some elements of grunge. The guitar riffs are very heavy. Ready to Fall has some 90s guitar riffs like Corrosion of Conformity, which I will talk about in a minute. Pounding drums, a sludgy feel, and powerful vocals. And Just Business starts with like this bass intro and some guitar riffs, kind of going into like a groove metal feel. This one reminded me a little of like Machine Head. And also the way like the distorts his vocals kind of made it sound a little industrial as well. So overall, it's just a very 90s album. It's heavy. A lot of people don't know about it. So if you like Dee Snider, definitely worth checking out. Next, I have Queensryche with Promised Land. So it's an underrated album because it was the follow-up to one of the biggest albums, Empire, and they kind of started to experiment a little more with the sound. I think many fans started to lose interest at this point because on this album and the other albums, it started to kind of take a dip in quality, but this one I think is really good. So I did another video on another channel, the Green Man's channel, part of his Dark Horse Disc series. We did a full discussion of this, and in that video I mentioned my favorite Queensryche song is the one called Bridge, about the man who wants to reconnect with his son after being absent for so many years. It's a really great, emotional, heartfelt song. But we got lots of good songs here. We got I, it's just very progressive, lots of layers of sound, just evokes feelings of like hysteria. You get taken in by all these different sound textures. We use a lot of that. Use lots of sound clips, guitar fills. They're just very unique. I also like the song Damage. It has this thick bass sound. And the intro, like that classic 80s Queensryche sound. I really enjoy Jeff Tate's vocals on this. He uses kind of like a lower baritone style tone mixed with these various like sound bites coming in and out of the song. So overall, it's a great album. It gets overlooked. It's melodic. It gets heavy at times. It's very like 90s. So like this album a lot. And one more album I'll talk about, which is Corrosion of Conformity with Deliverance. So Deliverance is the fourth album by Corrosion of Conformity. The first with Pepper Keenan as on lead vocals. And this is the first recording on Columbia Records. My favorite song is by far Albatross. It's like Black Sabbath and Leonard Skinner kind of like getting together in the 90s and making a band. That's what it sounds like. Such a cool guitar tone, a southern rock edge, and a great song. Another one of my favorites, Clean My Wounds. This has that cool galloping guitar riff, some sludgy vocals by Pepper Keenan, has some memorable guitar solos, and just really great. Another one I like is called Deliverance. This one has this guitar riff. It reminded me of Electric Funeral by Black Sabbath, that like sludgy riff and that like kind of distorted tone. And the vocals, it's like a deeper, like ZZ Top style vocals. So this song is, think of a mixing of like ZZ Top, Rob Zombie, and Black Sabbath. That's kind of like what you get in this song. And I'll talk about one more song called Pearls Before Swine. This is the final song on the album. You get some heavy stuff, some southern rock, the bass intro, some cleaner singing by Pepper Keenan, and just a little more like heavy grunge with like southern rock elements. So it's just dirty, it's heavy, sleazy, and sludgy, and all of that. So it's just one of their best albums, probably their best. It's either this one or Blind is my favorite. So it's very underrated. So that is all. I will be continuing this series throughout December. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.